Carpe diem, my name is Ultranatic, and here's another Toll Drama vlog going over Toll Drama Island 2024. In today's episode, fun fight at the O-Cake Corral. Man, another stretch of a pun title with that one, but even though I've never seen Tombstone, which, yeah, the movie's, I'm pretty sure, supposed to be based around that story, I don't know, I got a soft spot for having a title that sounds like that. And, yeah, the season's been on a pretty solid roll as far as good episodes go, in my opinion. I'd say this is probably one of my less favorite ones. Not to say it has a lot of good. This one's gonna be kind of, this season is, in my opinion at least, a little slim picking as far as outright, like, overall bad episodes. Like, most of them I give, at worst I give them a 7, maybe 6 out of 10 if I was feeling really uncharitable. Like, there's very few episodes where I'm like, oh, I really don't want to come back to this. But most of them are going to be in, like, the 8 or 9s, and even maybe a handful of 10s. This one's closer to the 7 range, personally, for me, but this a 7 out of 10 is still good to see. So, yeah, let's see where it gets that C from. Even then, maybe it's a little hard for me to give it a C, because it's only, like, a small handful of things that kind of get to me, but there are things about it I do like quite a bit. Starting with the very beginning, where it opens with Caleb still searching for that idol. Caleb falls from a tree branch, but Priya actually jumps down to save him. This is like straight out of a freaking action movie, what you see here, and it is so freaking awesome to watch. And as strong as Caleb is, I can believe that Priya could very much hold him up like she does. So, yeah, that is incredibly good of her, and I do like that it's one of those things where these two can both depend on each other in this kind of relationship, so I support that quite a bit. But we get to, they nearly kiss, by the way, and Z almost overhears them, but, you know, soda opening up. Now let me get to the part that everyone was talking about, because as iconic and as it was to see Raj and Bowie get together, we really can't focus on that much in this episode now that Bowie's gone. But we can potentially focus on another possible LGBTQIA plus romance. Sorry if I forgot any layers of numbers there. As MK and Julia are searching for the idol as well, amusingly, they're literally putting flashlights in the animals' mouths. I don't think you're gonna find it there, but whatever. And MK suggests to Julia that she likes her. You could argue that means, like, as a friend, but no. The way she says that, it's more of a like kind of thing going on here. And Julia never, and I wouldn't dwell on that personally if it wasn't for Julia stammering, what? No, like, I don't like you like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, lesbian vibes right there. Or at least bisexual or whatever. At the very least, girl on girl is definitely a possibility between these two. And MK then, like, jokes around about, like, all things they could do as friends, or more than friends, if you will, including making a podcast together, which gives me some major let's dress up and travel together energy to it. I bet most of you know what that's a reference to already. Dress up and travel together. But yeah, if they were to become a showmance, that'd be great. There was no confirmation about that from Terry McGurran personally. And if it was in fact a real thing, I know he'd be okay with mentioning it, because hello, Rajbo. 2 guys together, what'd be wrong with 2 girls? But, that being said, there is a lot of suggestibility around it, and I think that's enough for viewers. I ship it. You know, despite the fact that they were at each other's throats in the first, who cares at this point? We're getting good entertainment out of them. As much as I didn't like the cheating, I like seeing these two work off each other and work together to get themselves further in the game. Like, if they were bad villains, that'd be one thing. They're not. They're very good, entertaining, distinct villains. So, yeah, I'm all for this. But yeah, as far as the idol search goes, it's all in vain because Damien finds it. Completely by accident. That's just great. You know what it reminds me of completely? It reminds me of Ralph Kaiser from Survivor Redemption Island, which, fun fact, was my first season ever of Survivor. And I kept watching, seriously, from that. A lot of people call it one of the worst seasons of the show, which, isn't that wrong? But it had a banger start, in my opinion. I don't know. And Ralph Kaiser was, in fact, an amazing personality to be on the show, and I'm so sad to hear that he's no longer with us. Like, the dude seems like such a nice, caring, funny, entertaining person. May he rest in peace. I'm gonna honestly give a moment of silence for him. Okay. Rest in peace, Ralph Kaiser. You will be missed. We then find the next challenge is going to be cake-based, which meaning that they will be making cakes that resemble the image of Chris McClain. I love me a good cooking challenge. It's not cooking, it's baking. It's something you do in the kitchen. You know what I mean. I'm just saying, will I have an excuse to show Hell's Kitchen clips when I make this a proper review down the line? Yep, I will. Baking happens. Not often, but it happens. Okay, it's more of a master chef and next level chef thing, I suppose, but it happens on Gordon Ramsay shows. If I can show clips, I'll take it. I'll just take it. But because baking can be tricky, this is another challenge where people will actually pair up. Only not as like competing against each other, but more like the actual teams will work together, and whichever team wins, all of them are immune. I can work with that personally. But he says rather than put the teams against each other, which didn't get nearly as much drama as he thought. I guess that's a little true, but I don't know, I thought it was cool either way. He's going to pick the teams to get the more proper drama, which even now I'm like, okay, this should be interesting. Get the most chaotic pairings together. Surprisingly, it doesn't quite go the way I think he would have expected, but it doesn't go unentertaining at the same time. It just goes, it just creates conflict and mayhem in a way I personally wouldn't have seen coming. But that's a good thing. Like throw me off a little bit. I can work with that. We have a foursome of people. I'm just going to call them the foursome in this case, just to speed things along, of Priya and Caleb, and then Damien and Z, all working together. That sounds like a pretty good bond. Then you've got MK being alongside Ripper and Axel. I'd argue with Showman's being together work together fine. And then, of course, you got Wayne and Raj with Julia. And that's where you think, oh, that's going to be the drama, because Julia got Bowie, Raj's boyfriend, out of the competition. Oh, it's going to be on. But Wayne and Raj, I suppose wisely, decide to just let that go. Okay, not let it go. I mean, Raj is still upset, but Wayne's like, hey, think about it this way. Like, there might be an enemy from our team now, but now that you're working together, they're your teammate. So they just treat her like a little sister and bond with her. And ironically, that makes Julia more miserable. I like that. That's funny. But it's not over yet. Because we have a guest judge in this challenge. Oh, well, who is it going to be in this case? A former Total Drama contestant, winner no less, in Owen. And even I'm like, yeah, that's a good call for this one. And, yep, he's back, and it looks like he has not aged a single day. For what it's worth, I don't think the aging in the show matters much. I mean, yeah, this show is supposed to take place, 8 years after? Well, 9 years now for this season. But at least, like, the new generation is supposed to have started 8 years prior to where we last ended off with this series in Redonkulous Race, which also had Owen for the record. And, yeah, I wonder if there is supposed to be, like, genuine aging going on. But for what, like, he looks the exact same. That being said, he does not sound the same. Like, not to say that I can't tell it's Owen, I can, but it sounds like time has passed, so the voice sounds a little bit off, not gonna lie. Like, not in, like, an unlistenable way. It's just one of those things where it's a little distracting. Just a teensy bit. But I digress. So then you've got, the actual, and I mean all due respect to Scott McClure when I say that, because he does come back and voice Owen here. I believe, don't quote me on this, I hope I'm not wrong. He's also the voice of Owen in Total Drama Rama, and ironically, that character, despite having it sound like a de-aged Owen, sounds more like, more like grown-up Owen than this does. Does that make sense? I'm worried if I'm not making sense here. I don't know. And again, maybe that's just a hang-up for me, and it's a bit of a barrier in the episode. But for what it's worth, the writing on Owen is still good. Like, at least I get that part right. I will accept that. That's like having, it's kind of like when you get a movie that has kind of subpar animation, but really strong writing. I heard people say stuff like that about X-Men 97 coming out recently. I saw bits of that, and I'll be like, I don't know, I like the animation fine. But yeah, it sounds a lot like the writing is more the star, and that's a good call. So yeah, as long as the writing on Owen's good, I'll take it, and it is good writing. So here's how the challenge will start. The contestants must swim to a barge that has a lot of ingredients on it, and race back with whatever ingredients they find, and then pick one of 3 remotes that are going to be on a table, which will give them either an advantage or the teams around them a disadvantage they'll have to work against. These advantages include Totally Lost, which involves Chef coming up to give you some advice on how to make your meal. The Kitchen Quake, which will cause the other 2 tables to have their ingredients like rattle around and potentially knock people off their balance. And finally, I forget what it's called, but it's an advantage where if you click it, Owen will step aside from the chef's table and wreak havoc on the kitchen, like eating whatever you have around you. Which, yeah, that's a pretty good evil twist. You see, the challenge is set up in a good way, so when I say this is one of my less favorite episodes, please take that with a grain of salt. There's still a lot about it I like. The teams are also given 1 carton of milk, 1 carton of eggs, and 1 tub of frosting to work with. So, the weird thing is, like, they don't give them flat nothing to work with. In fact, it kind of does remind me a little bit of Next Level Chef, in which case, the other ingredients you get from the barge, that's on you to try and get as fast as you possibly can. But yeah, it's a good, entertaining mix. We see the characters get to the barge, and a major battle breaks out, largely with the Hockey Bros and Julia taking out other people, but everyone kind of gets in on the action, and it's a great, entertaining fight. And you get this great moment where Z goes, "This is madness." And Axel, who's battling him, goes, "Madness? This is drama!" It's weird, I'm a movie buff and there's quite a lot of great movies I haven't seen. I mentioned I haven't seen Tombstone. I also have not seen 300. But I recognize that as a reference to 300. So, kudos. Massive kudos to that little reference you got there. We then see Wayne, Raj, and Julia off the barge first, but what do they pick up for ingredients? Weapons. A bow and arrow specifically, which Julia is irritated by, tosses them off the boat and says, "Swim to shore." And she'll get some actual ingredients. But because a lot of the great ingredients were taken by the other teams already, she's left with raw stuff. And I'm like, that's gonna throw her off a little bit. The teams get out to the beach. You get the foursome grabbing the Kitchen Quake. You get MK and Ripper and Axel, who have gotten cake base, by the way, getting the Totally Lost remote. Just Ripper picks it for whatever reason. And that leaves Wayne, Raj, and Julia with the Owen button that they have. We see after Julia gets back to the beach, we see that Wayne and Raj. Okay, I love these two, and I mentioned that I like that a lot of these characters, like the guys especially, are kind of complete idiots. But I guess this is one of the hang-ups I have. Some of these characters are kind of idiots to degrees that even I argue it's a teensy bit unrealistic. Like, little. In this case, we see Wayne and Raj using the eggs as baseballs. Not that that's not funny, but what? Like, how old are you? Okay, mentally I can almost agree with that, but come on, guys, like, you got a challenge, and that's, I guess, another barrier. There's 2 teams in particular who have at least 2 members each who are way off the game as far as how the challenge is supposed to be going on. And with Julia, Wayne, and Raj, it's obviously Wayne and Raj. And I'll mention the other one in a minute. So where was I? It's then revealed by Julia that she used to work at her parents' bake shop as a kid called Sweet Little Julia's, and apparently her relationship with them is now kind of fraught, and she only talks to them through lawyers, which is funny, and I can see that happening. And after she like has a blow up at Wayne and Raj for what they did with the eggs, I'd call it warranted. We hear Owen say from the chef's table, maybe they should have called it Mean Little Julia's. Okay, genuine question here, and this is not like a problem, but it is something I want known. How did Owen know that? Did you hear the confessional? Were you listening in the confessional, or do you just know about every bake shop in Canada? I mean, I can believe that maybe, but I'd like a little clarification, like, how did you know that part? Because the timing was too perfect. Like, it's good for comedic timing, but for the sake of, like, making sense in the narrative, I would like to know how he knew that information. But yeah, we then get Ripper and Axel, who are completely caught with each other on their team, and that's the other part I don't like. Look, I've actually been kind of enjoying them for as shallow as they are throughout this challenge, or throughout this season. This episode, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of over them now. Took a bit, but it's not even that I find them disgusting. It's more I'm like, guys, you have a challenge. Can you stop looking into each other's eyes? I mean, Ripper I can kind of understand. Axel? Like, you were in it on the bar to get the whole this is drama line, but now you're back on the beach and you're just all eyes for Ripper? Make the dang cake! Hello? Like, do you want to win immunity or not? But, like, again, it's not like I'm mad, but it is frustrating. It's just my honest opinion on this one. And again, as frustrating as it is, it's not like it tanks the episode, but it does hinder me from giving it like an outright A grade. I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to justify my opinion a little too much, but I'm allowed that. If y'all love this episode unconditionally, great, keep loving it. I'm just saying whatever I have like little issues with. We then see Wayne and Raj try to get some chicken eggs from earlier, but as they go to the chickens to get them, the chickens are ready to fight. We don't see most of that, which I'm like, come on, show us the chicken fight. But they do at least get back to Julia with the eggs, and she makes up a lot of time. I'm actually happy that she has this little baking background to do that, because that makes a lot of sense. But the foursome use the kitchen quake to have her and MK hinder their performances a little bit, since it's basically just them. Ripper and Axel doing nothing to help at this point, and Wayne and Raj are helping, but they're mostly away from the actual baking. Julia retaliates against the foursome by using the bow and arrow from before to shoot at, I'm pretty sure it's a tub of vinegar to go into their baking soda to where they can't use it. It's a good, clever, evil little move there. I like that. We see MK in the lead now, but Julia uses the Owen sabotage against MK to do it, which MK isn't even bitter about. She's like, nah, I'm not surprised. Did I do that right? I think I got MK's voice, like, absolutely right on this one. If I got that, like, whoa, that's perfect. I could use that for the future. But, yeah, it does set back MK a bit because the frosting gets eaten up by Owen. Next, Julia tells the Hockey Bros to go get milk because there's got to be something on the milk. They go to find what they think is a cow, but it's a rhino. Okay, one, I'm sorry, but that is really stupid even for them. But two, and this is probably going to be a really dumb question for me to ask since I know this show as much as I do. But what the heck is a rhino doing on this island? Yeah, I know, dumb question. Like, what are alligators doing in Muskoka? What's a Sasquatch and Aqua doing in Muskoka? What are all these animals doing in Muskoka? They're there to cause whatever kind of hilarious comedic hijinks and chaos that you want them to. Yeah. But even then, a rhino? This is not Survivor Africa here. I can see that happening there. On an island in Canada. Something just feels wrong about that. I don't know. Again, probably nitpicking a little bit, but it is what it is. But they do somehow manage to milk it. How? Again, I'm not mad about that. I kind of like that, like how inexplicable that is. But it is one of those things where you gotta question how. I actually want to know how. Please don't tell me. And they pass out in front of Julia, who's like, great, I guess I gotta do everything by myself. Which, you know what? I gotta give props to Julia for one thing, because I oppose the cheating between her and MK and all that stuff throughout the season, but that doesn't mean she doesn't freaking work her tail off in this game. She's had to since season 1, and I don't think that has gotten enough credit, because she really does want this win, and she will take whatever lengths possible to get it. Like people have compared her to Heather, and even I'm like, no, she's got one thing above Heather actually, because Heather often wanted things like handed to her. Not like she put the work in when she had to, especially in like World Tour and whatnot. But Julia's been mostly doing this thing from like the get-go when it came to this new reboot. So, yeah, like I really appreciate Julia for genuinely like putting some elbow grease into this show and doing everything she can to stay in this game. Like that's a real can-do attitude in my opinion. So like kudos to Julia for that. What else? We see Axel painting a picture of Ripper. I buy it. As much as it's not focusing on the challenge, I mean, we know Axel likes poetry. Painting is not that much far off. And she's pretty good at it, actually. Kudos. But, the foursome, after not having no baking soda at this point, realize it needs something to try and help the cake rise. So, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't care for this part either. They decide to use fungus. But what kind of fungus? They apparently choose to use yeast from Ripper's armpit. Nope, sorry. That's as bad as freaking Beth putting the retainer in Shevchenko Redemption that was taken out of Gwen's mouth after eating literal garbage with maggots all over it. Or not maggots, but like just really disgusting ingredients and whatnot. And then putting it back in her own mouth. That's how disgusting I consider this. Just, ew. No. So, yeah, it's a pretty big hindrance. We'll get back to that, though. We see MK basically waste her advantage with Chef about trying to get a cake out of the pan. Because Chef does give commentary later on that, oh, she didn't grease her pan, it's going to bite her in the butt later on. And yeah, it is now because it won't come out. To which Chef just kind of sarcastically says, well, too bad you can't make a time machine to go back in time and grease your pans up. Is that it? Yep, that's it. Sorry. I mean, what was he supposed to do otherwise? I guess you could try cutting the cake out, but even then, it's probably going to be risky. I don't know. I'm not a chef or a baker or anything. I'm not the one to give advice about this stuff on. So yeah, we see MK waste the advantage, Ripper and Axel further waste time, and we see Owen eat bits of Damien's cake, which, okay, I'm not gonna lie, it sounds a little unfair. Owen be kept back. I know he can't help himself, but come on, it's just not fair. We see MK use sticks to try and hold her cake together without frosting. I don't think that'd work. I mean, I'm sure it would hold it together, but ew. We see Julia's cake looks pretty dang near perfect, and it didn't even have frosting on it yet. And the foursome choose to sculpt their cake in the image that Chris sees of himself rather than his actual image, which is a good little bit of thinking right there. We see MK's cake come out the absolute worst in both look and taste. It basically looked like Shrek's swamp. We see Julia's cake have like an almost perfect image of Chris and apparently also tastes delicious, whereas the foursome's cake is a little wonky looking, but it has a much more muscular version of Chris, which of course Chris absolutely fawns over. And yeah, when it comes to taste, both Julia and both Julia and the foursome's cake both taste delicious. Apparently, they think that the foursome's cake tastes even more delicious, which is why it's so unfortunate that afterwards Ripper reveals that, hey, they took yeast from my armpit to help it rise, which the team doesn't even deny. Which I don't know why you'd even have to tell them that. Again, cameras, use them. As much as you're gonna just let the cheating from MK slide in the last episode, that doesn't explain why you took you so long to figure it out. Cameras everywhere, hello. But yeah, they find out, and of course it makes them basically sick. And MK and the Hockey Bro, Julia and the Hockey Bros win immunity. As deserved. Again, they worked their tails off. We then get to the marshmallow ceremony where Chris reveals that apparently the idol was found. Yeah, that's something that happens on Survivor. They reveal that stuff was found. No, you made people look for it more. It makes everything more uncertain that way. But Damian wisely does not let people on that it's him. I'd argue there's a clue at least now. He says it's like, what? I've been looking for that thing forever. Well, he doesn't actually say he found it. Hey, it's more strategic tact than Caleb was showing at least. And Ripper and Axel are revealed to have been the bottom two. And Axel gets voted off. Why? Because Julia says they're the most vile couple ever. Not gonna lie, I prefer them still over Dave and Sky. In fact, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a tangent for a second here. What even would be... is there a showman's name for Dave and Sky? Because what would it even be? I can't think of anything that would work in this case. Like, either you have Scave, which sounds like the nickname for a serial killer, or Die, which is on brand, given what you see from the show. The weird thing is, I'm not even saying it mostly for Dave. A lot of people will point the problem at Dave. He is a problem, but he's not the problem. Like, not the only problem, I should say. Sky is too. I'm sorry, you choose to not tell this guy, oh, by the way, I have a boyfriend, but I'm gonna break it off with him. Why would you just not tell him that? Like, just tell him. He'll accept it. The fact you held off that lawn, yeah, I'd argue it's a little justified how angry he is. Killing you kind of angry, maybe a little far, but that's just so damn stupid. But that's for a later time. But yeah, because Julia finds them a very vile couple, and Priya just sees Axel as the bigger threat as far as like, you know, physicality goes, which, yeah, that makes sense. And of course, Ripper's sad about the whole thing. Axel's kind of brushing it off. I have no idea if she's hiding feelings or if she's genuinely just kind of over Ripper at this point. I don't know. But because of that, Ripper chooses to fall right behind her, and it becomes a double elimination just from that. Am I mad that Ripper quit? I should be more mad, I guess, but he wasn't winning. You see, I get more mad about quits if I think the person had at least a chance of winning. Like Joy in Hell's Kitchen 12. Everyone and their mother was like, she's probably gonna win this season. Then she just quits out of nowhere. Even I'm like, what? That makes no sense in my opinion. But Ripper, was he winning? No. At least that's at least what I think. So yeah, that was fun fight at the Oat Cake Corral. I hope it's clear where my issues with it are. And again, I don't hate it. There's a lot about it I like, actually. But a few things I don't care for. Again, Ripper and Axel do not have their heads in the game at all. Wayne and Raj especially are just kind of dumbed down to degrees I don't really think are in character for them. There's a lot of like gross stuff that you get in the episode too, just regarding mostly Priya. It's not the entire, but Priya's idea to do that thing with like the armpit stuff. So I don't know, but it's a good creative idea for a challenge with some fun references. There is some inventive strategy, a lot of hard work that goes into it. I gotta appreciate from some of these contestants. And in the end, it's not like I'm torn up by who goes home. As much as I was enjoying Ripper and Axel and their romance in this season, I'm not dying that they left. I'm fine with that. So, yeah, that was fun fight at the Oat Cake Corral. I guess probably one of the most mixed bags of the entire season, but heck, I prefer mixed bags to outright garbage. Because, yeah, there will be some episodes that I'll watch from this entire series that will be garbage. This was not garbage. It was actually pretty entertaining for a pretty solid chunk of it. So I'd still watch it personally. And that concludes this Total Drama vlog for this week. I appreciate y'all watching, and I can't wait to see y'all in the next one. Take care.